Okay, right. Let's take a look at our MCQ. Okay, so we have quite a lot to go through, but I don't think they're particularly hard. Okay, so question 1. What can we say about the long run? Question 1. What can we say about the long run? Anyone for question 1? Okay. Okay, so the correct answer is A. Yeah? Okay, the whole point about the long run is that everything is variable. If everything is variable, then nothing is fixed. Okay, nothing is fixed. So B is wrong. C is definitely wrong, and D is therefore wrong as well. Okay, so question 1 I think is fine. Now question 2 and 3, they have used a diagram I don't think we have directly seen before in the lecture. Okay, but you can somewhat guess based on the shape of the curves. Okay, so question 2, what is curve A referring to? What is curve A referring to? Okay, A is the correct answer, yeah? Okay, so whenever you see the two curves that intersect, okay, the steeper one is the marginal cost curve. Okay, so people here, okay, whenever you see something like this, okay, this one that looks like a Nike symbol, that it will always be the marginal cost, and this will always be the average cost. But there are two possible averages, okay? So that is question 3, okay? So question 2 is A, marginal cost. What about question 3? What is curve B? Okay, right, class. I want to ask you all, yeah? Okay, which one will be higher? Average total cost or average variable cost? Which one will be more? Total or variable? People online, what do you think? Total cost, average total cost, will it be higher or will it be average variable cost? Total, okay? So average total cost will be higher. That means on the diagram, it also has to be higher up, okay? So you see B is higher than C, right? Okay? B is higher than C. That means B has to be average total cost and C has to be average variable cost. Okay? C has to be average variable cost. All right, so that's the idea behind it. Okay, the higher one has to be total. Okay, so for question 3, the correct answer is C. Okay, the correct answer is C. Does that make sense? Because I don't remember if we've seen this diagram before in the lectures. It's like it's basically like we take all the costs and then we like put them together like rojak. Okay, that's what you get. Any questions for question 3? Okay, right. Then let's continue. Okay, now question 4. When we have a change in total cost that results from a change in output, what do we call that? Okay, careful, yeah. We're looking at a change in total cost. Okay, so when you see the word change, it's always marginal. Okay, it's always marginal. If it's just total cost divided by output, then it's average total cost. But here it says change in total cost. That means it's the marginal cost. Okay, so D is the correct answer. Okay, question 5. Okay, what is the difference between the short run and the long run? This one should be slightly easier. Okay, right. So although we say that the long run is usually a few years and short run is maybe a few weeks or months, that is not always true. Okay, in one sense, you cannot use the time to determine long and short run. The only way we can know for sure whether it's long or short run is by looking at whether there are fixed inputs. Okay, so D is the correct answer. Yeah, in the short run, one or more inputs are fixed. Okay. If it takes, 2 weeks for all inputs to become variable, then 2 weeks is the long run. But if it takes, 2 years for all inputs to become variable, then 1 year is still short. Okay, so in one sense, the only sure way of deciding whether it's short run or long run depends on the fixed inputs. Okay, so D is the correct answer. Yeah. Okay. Now, question 6. If you have a cost that you shouldn't care about at all, what do we call that? Okay, so A is the correct answer. All right, we call it sunk cost. Okay. Yeah, so remember the example of, a terrible movie, do you want to walk out or not? Okay, that is what we call sunk cost. If you stay because you have paid for the ticket, then it's sunk cost. Okay. Now, let's move on to question 7. Okay, how do we define the marginal physical product of a variable input? Okay, B is the correct answer, yeah? Okay, change in total output. Again, you see marginal, that means it has to have a change in it. Change in total output that results from changing the variable input by 1 unit. Okay, now, class, what's the problem with B? Looks the same, right? what's the problem with D donkey? Okay, fixed. Okay, now can you change fixed inputs by 1 unit? Cannot, okay? That's the whole definition of fixed, right? You cannot change it. So in that sense, it doesn't make sense to talk about marginal physical products of fixed inputs. It's like, but you can't change them by 1 unit, therefore there's no need to talk about marginals in this case, okay? So let's move on to question 8. When do you have economies of scale? Okay, so C is the correct answer, yeah? Okay, economies of scale is when you increase inputs by some percentage and output increases by a greater percentage. Now, what's the problem with D? When you have economies of scale, does the LRATC slope upwards or downwards? People online, what do you think? Upwards or downwards, or flat? Downwards, yeah, okay. If your LRATC slopes upwards, then you have this economies of scale, okay? Now, that is our next question. Question 9. Okay, what happens when you have this economies of scale? What about the rest? Okay, right, thanks. So B is the correct answer, yeah? Okay. When we say that the curve is rising, it's exactly the same as saying the curve is upward sloping. Okay, it's the exact same thing. Okay, so B is the correct answer. Okay, now what about question 10? What does the long run average total cost curve show? Okay, so B is the correct answer. Okay, whenever you see average total cost, we're talking about unit cost. Okay, so A is definitely out because A is talking about average variable cost. C is also out because that's talking about average fixed cost, and D is out because that's about marginal cost. Average total cost, okay, is another word for unit cost. So B is the only correct answer. Okay, let's move on to the last 3. Okay, question 11, we just fill in the blanks, okay? What do you think is the correct answer here? Sorry, I should just check that. You see, the problem is that I've never seen any of the students, so anyone who comes in could be my student, could not be my student, so it's like, yeah. Okay, right. So C is the correct answer. Okay, you just fill in the blanks here, you look for the definition. Okay, this economies of scale, okay, the key thing is increases by a smaller percentage. Constant returns, same percentage. Okay. Now, question 12. Minimum efficient scale. Okay, what does it refer to? Okay, thank you. D is the correct answer, yeah? Okay, D is the correct answer. So again, the idea of minimum efficient scale is like 40 marks also pass, 50 marks pass, 90 marks pass, 100 marks pass. So what is the lowest possible mark such that you can pass 40 marks? Minimum efficient scale is the same thing, okay? Between, you know, say some level of output, okay, say A and B, okay, you have minimized the average total cost, okay? For all these levels of production, the average total cost is minimum. So what is the lowest possible level at which you still have this lowest average total cost? We call it the minimum efficient scale, okay? Now, let's move on to question 13. If you have this economies of scale, what should you not do? Okay, yes, so B is the correct answer, yeah? This economies of scale, you should think of it as too big, okay? Too big. Economies of scale, you can think of it as not big enough, okay? Now, this economies of scale, you're already too big, and if you make it even bigger, it's just going to make things worse, okay? So B is definitely not what you want to do, okay? But if it's too big, then you can say, maybe we split it down into divisions, okay? You know, departments or something so that, you know, everything can run on its own, okay? So that's what C is. Or you could, you know, like reorganize the structure, that is A. Or say you don't have enough people managing, okay? You have 100,000 workers, but one manager, okay? Then you're like, the poor manager has to manage so many people. That's why you have this economies of scale. So what you can do, just hire more managers so that they split up the task between them. Okay, so B is the correct answer, yeah? In the sense that B is the one that you don't want to do when you have this economies of scale. Okay? Now, okay, before I continue, I just need to check your tutorial sheet. Can I see someone's tutorial sheet? What do you have for question 4? Okay, and can I get the other people? Yeah. But what is that is a complete answer. Okay, right. We cannot do question 4. I don't know why it's that. And I don't know why I have a different version. Okay, so just take note, yeah. Okay, just take note. We cannot do question 4. We will just skip it. Okay, I will show you the answers to part A where you have to do all the calculations because that one you can do, right? You calculate the, you know, marginal cost, that kind of thing. I will show you the answers, but since it's just numbers, I won't, you know, do it step by step. But if you want, you can take a picture or screenshot it from your computer. But the rest of the questions we cannot do. Okay, for I think B, C, D, and E we cannot do. Okay, but so we will do 1, 2, 3, and 5. Okay, right. So because there's a slight discrepancy in your questions and my questions, okay, so just refer to the screen, yeah. Okay, whichever works. Okay, 1A. using an appropriate diagram, explain economies of scale and diseconomies of scale. Okay, class, I want to ask you, from which slide can we get the diagram for this question? There is one diagram that gives you both economies of scale and diseconomies of scale. Okay, very good. So we need 27, specifically diagram B. Okay. Now, when you draw the diagram, you don't have to draw in all the SRATCs, yeah? Okay, you just need to draw that one big LRATC, and you just need to label the economies of scale, constant returns to scale, and diseconomies of scale. Okay, so just give me a minute. Okay, this is just what you need to do, yeah. Okay, and then you label something like, okay, economies of scale, constant returns, diseconomies of scale. You don't need to put in all the smaller ones. You just need this big one. Okay. So, yeah, so people online, just give me a minute. Okay, so class, you just need this diagram, diagram B, okay? But you don't need to draw the SRATC 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You just need the LRATC, label economies of scale, constant returns to scale, diseconomies of scale, and also the minimum efficient scale. Okay, you just need to do that. No need to draw in the SRATCs. Okay. Now, the question asks you to explain. So in other words, you just need to give me the definitions. Okay. So just write down all of these. Okay. And also the diseconomies of scale part. The thing you don't want to miss out, okay, is causing unit cost to rise or fall. Okay. Because that links it to your average total cost, right? Okay, so you want to also include what happens to unit cost when you have economies of scale, what happens to unit cost when you have diseconomies of scale. All right, but otherwise the answers you can get from explanation from slide 28, diagram from slide 27. Okay, right. Okay, now let's move to question 1B, okay, B1 and B2. Okay, so here's the table, okay. What do we need to do? We need to find the marginal physical product, the total cost, and marginal cost, okay, and then we will do something about it. Okay, now let me share my other window. Okay, right. So let's do this together. Okay. Now, the first thing you need to notice is that 18 is your total fixed cost. Now, remember the definition of fixed cost is cost that you incur no matter what is your level of production. That means, okay, it can be, you produce one fixed cost 18, you produce 100 fixed cost also 18, but crucially, your fixed cost is 18 even when your production is 0. But when your production is 0, you don't have variable costs, right? That means if your total cost at per quantity equals 0 is your fixed cost. Okay, so that is why 18 is your fixed cost here. Now, let's do the marginal physical product first. Okay, so let me make this a bit smaller here. Okay, now, how do you do the marginal physical product? You look at the change in output when you change your units of labor, okay? So how do you do that? First, you start off by taking the difference, okay, in the output, okay? When you go from 0 units of labor to 1 unit of labor, your output goes from 0 to 70. So what's the change? 70, okay? So 70 minus 0, okay? And you divide by 1 minus 0. Okay? That will give you 70. that will give you 70. Does that make sense? Okay, people online, if you have questions, just ask, yeah? Okay, now let's take a look at when we go from 1 unit of labor to 2 units of labor. Okay, so again, you take the difference, 160 minus 70, okay, divide by 2 minus 1, okay, that gives you 90. That gives you 90. Right. Yeah, that gives you 90. Okay. Now, let's look at 2 to 3. Okay. So you take 220 minus 160. You divide by 3 minus 2. Okay. And that will give you 60. Okay. Now, for the last one, 250 minus 220. You divide 4 minus 3, that gives you 30 units. Okay? Everything clear on the marginal physical product? Any questions? People online, everything okay so far? All right, okay. Now let's look at the total cost. Okay, total cost is easy. You just take the total variable cost, you add it to the total fixed cost, which we know is 18. Okay, so you just take everything and add 18. 38 plus 18, okay, equals to 56. Okay, let me make this smaller, yeah. Okay, 50 plus 18 gives you 68. 65 plus 18, I'm sorry, 65 plus 18 gives you 83. And right, 83, and then 82 plus 18 gives you 100. Okay, the total cost, that one is easy. Okay, now for the marginal cost. Okay, this one is a bit trickier. Okay, so let's talk through it together. Now, marginal cost, you take the difference in the change in total cost, you divide by the change in output. Okay, notice, yeah, change in output, not change in labor. Okay, not change in labor. Okay, so what you need to do, okay, let's look at the change in cost when we go from 0 to 70. Okay, so you have 56 minus 18. Okay, these two columns, yeah. You divide by the change in these two columns. Okay, divide by 70 minus 0. Okay, so 56 minus 18, okay, divide by 70, you get something like 0.543. Okay, is the marginal cost okay so far? Okay, or you may get something like 19 over 35. That's also the same. Okay. Okay, let me just put it here, 19 over 35, which is the same as, okay, which is the same as 0.543. All right, now let's take a look at the next one. Okay, we have 68 minus 56. Okay, divide by 160 minus 70. Okay, so 68 minus 56, okay, 160 minus 70. You get 2 over 15. 2 over 15, which is equal to 0.133. Okay, now I won't repeat for the last two. I can just give you the answer straight. Okay, 0.25 and lastly 0.567. Okay, now I will put this all online. Okay, so you can refer to it later on. All right, but this is how you calculate your MPP, your TC, and your MC. Okay, just go back to the formula and do it basically like a robot. Okay, don't think too much. Just do the calculation and you will be fine. Okay, now That is parts 1 and 2. For part 3, define the law of diminishing marginal returns. Okay, the law of diminishing marginal returns. So first of all, you need to, well, give the definition. AA tab. Okay, this one is quite far up. Where is it? Oh. Give me a minute, let me find the slide. Okay, right, so you have to give this definition. Okay, now make sure when you are giving the definition, you don't forget the terms variable and fixed, okay? So in other words, it's saying you're increasing your variable inputs while holding your fixed inputs constant, okay? Eventually, the marginal physical product of the variable input will decline, okay? It's not enough to just say marginal physical product, yeah? Okay, you have to tell me marginal physical product of what, okay? Of your variable inputs, okay? So you give this definition, and now let's go back to your answers, okay? Now, notice, okay, that your marginal physical product goes up from 70, okay, you have to refer to your own answers, yeah? 70 to 90, and then it starts to drop to 60 and then to 30, okay? In other words, it is asking you at what level of labor, okay, at which unit of labor does the MPP start to decrease, okay? At which unit of labor does MPP start to decrease, okay? What do you think? Okay, it's the third unit of labor, yeah, or you can say, 3, that's also okay. Now, why? Because 2 is the highest MPP, 2 has the highest MPP, right? And then the third one, it has dropped. That means you have the law of diminishing marginal returns at the third unit onwards. Okay, so you look for, what's the highest, and then you look for the next one. That will tell you, okay, when do you have diminishing marginal returns? All right. So that is question 1. Okay, any questions, anything you want to clarify? Okay, if not, then let's jump to question 2. Okay, now question 2, okay, this one is easy, this one is quite simple. Okay, basically another calculation question. Okay, now here you have to notice that workers cost 12 ringgit, machines cost 20 ringgit. Okay, now, which one is the fixed input here? Class, which one is the fixed input? Machines, okay? They are the fixed input because you see that the number doesn't change no matter how much you produce, okay? So let me share my PowerPoint again. Okay, so we have this and we have this information. The cost of each machine is 12 ringgit. Each worker is 12 ringgit. Cost of each machine is 20 ringgit. So now let us look at the marginal products of labor. Okay, in other words, how does output change when you increase workers by 1 unit? Okay, so this one is very easy because you're increasing workers by 1 unit at each round. Okay, so you just have to look at the difference between the 2 levels of output. Okay, so one worker, 5 units of output. That means when you have no workers, you have no output as well. Okay, so what is the MPL? You just take 5 minus 0. Okay, now technically it should be something like this, yeah? Okay, just let me write it out. Okay, see if I can make more space. Okay, technically it should be something like this. Okay, but if anything you divide by 1, you still get the same number. Okay, so you can just skip the divide by 1. Okay, so when you go from 1 worker to 2 workers, output goes up from 5 to 10. Okay, so the difference is 5. Now, when you go from 2 workers to 3 workers, output goes up from 10 to 20. So the MPL is 10. Okay, and then you can just keep doing the calculation. 15, and then 10. Okay, just let me double check. Yes, that is correct. Okay, so I'll just put in one more line of calculation just to be safe. 70 minus 55, okay, divide by 8, that gives you 15. Okay, so MPL, done. The next thing we need to do is calculate the cost of workers and machines. Okay, cost of worker is 12. When you have 1 worker, it's just 1 times 12. 2 workers, 2 times 12. 3 workers, 3 times 12. Okay, so this one, just do your multiplication. All right. Now, for machines, this one is easy because you have 2 machines all the time, and each machine is cost 20 ringgit. So it's just 40 all the way. Okay. So this one is just 3 times 12. Okay. Okay, now total cost, you just add up the workers, the cost of workers and the cost of machines. Okay, so 12 plus 40 equals 52. Okay, 24 plus 40 equals, where's my equals? 64. Okay, and here you just get 76, 88, 100, 112, 124. Okay, so this calculation is, I think, slightly easier. Okay, if I will put all of this online, so you want to screenshot, you can. Okay, if you don't want to, okay, you will get this online as well. Okay. Okay, class. Now, again, let's look at the marginal products of labor. Okay, at what level do you see the marginal product of labor start to decrease? Okay, we did this just now. Okay, you should be able to see this by now. Kian Fu, which one is the highest? At which worker do you have the highest marginal product of labor? Five, right, Kian Fu? Okay, now 5 is the highest, so you just look for the next one. Okay, that gives you 15, and that is the 6th worker. Okay. Okay, Kian Fu, does that make sense? So 5 is the highest, then you just take the next one. Okay, so 6 at worker number 6, okay, diminishing return starts to set in. Okay, no problem, that's fine. All right, so it's the 6th worker, okay, where you start to experience diminishing marginal products of labor. That is quite loud. Okay, right. So that is question 2. And anything that you want to clarify before I move on? Oh, by the way, just to tell you all, yeah. So block PA, the soundproofing is not very good. So we could hear what happens next door, right? I remember last week I had one lecture in this block, and the guy next door sounded so energetic. And I was like, how do you do this for 3 hours non-stop? You know, he was like so energetic, so loud for 3 hours. I was like, I feel tired. Like, I feel like I'm like 60 years old compared to you. Yeah. that there are some people that are super energetic, and that is not me, especially in the morning. Okay, right. Let's carry on with question 3. Okay. Okay, let's carry on with question 3, and then we will do 5 and we skip 4. Okay, as we mentioned just now. Okay. Carry. Okay. Okay, so question 3, using an example, explain the term sunk cost. Okay, so this one we've talked about it. Okay, we know what is the idea. Okay, so in terms of the explanation, you need to tell me what is sunk cost, and then you give me an example. Okay, the problem is that the example in the lecture slides is really, really long. Okay, and you do not have to give me something that long. Okay, so give me a minute. Okay, so first of all, you need to tell me what is sunk cost. Okay, so is it not sharing? Oh, sorry. Sorry, give me a minute. Okay, right. So you just need to give that definition of sunk cost. Okay, so you give that definition and then you give the example. Okay, now actually you could use this example. The problem is that you don't need to write that much. Okay, basically you just have to stop at the 5th bullet point, but still this is very long. Okay, this is very long. So I will give you an example. All right, I will give you an example. Okay, I have typed it in the chat. Okay, let me see if I can make this bigger. Okay, big enough. Okay, so this is an example that you can give okay. This captures all that you need to do. Basically, you just need to, okay, if you look at the question, not question, okay, the statement. Basically, you just have to start off by telling me the story. Okay, you tell me the story, yeah, okay. And then you tell me, since there is no refund, the customer should just ignore, okay. You can think of it, think of other examples, okay. You have, say, bought tickets to Sunway Lagoon, okay, when we could go to Sunway Lagoon. You bought it, like, say, 2 months in advance, okay, and you cannot get a refund. And then it rains. Do you go or do you not go because of the rain? Okay. If you say, you know, paid tickets still have to die must go, even though it's raining, okay, then it's sunk cost. Okay, then you suffer from what we call the sunk cost bias. Okay, so you can give that as an example as well. Okay, as long as first you tell me what is the story, and then you tell me what should be ignored. Okay, so that example should be enough. Okay, I'll just give people a bit of time to take it down. Give me a minute, I just need to check our attendance. Okay, people online, is Carmen here? Oh, she's dropped out. All right, thanks. Oh, no wonder. Yeah. Okay. All right, okay, thanks. Okay, done taking down the example, yeah? Okay, right. So let us continue with question 5, which is my question 4. Okay, is this your question 5? Does it match? Okay, right. So, well, my question 4, your question 5. Let's talk through this. Okay, now for your question 4, okay, I will show you the table after we finish this. Okay, now state and briefly explain 2 factors of economies. Oh, sorry, we haven't done 3B yet. Okay, sorry. So for 3B, define this economies of scale. Okay, you tell me what it is and explain 2 problems that a firm might face. Okay, this one is also very simple because you can just get this from the lecture slides. Okay, so first of all, you tell me what is this economies of scale? Okay, important point, yeah? Most people will remember, okay, this part. Inputs increase by some percentage, output increases by a smaller percentage. Most people will remember this. What some people might not remember is the part causing unit costs to rise. Okay, so the last part, just remember that. Now, what are the problems? Okay, so what are the problems? You just have to talk about this. Okay, so problems with coordination, communication, and monitoring, and then you just explain what they are. Okay, so here's the example. Managers find it difficult to coordinate work activities, communicate directives in a satisfactory time, and monitor effectively. Okay, so you just have to put that in for 3B. Okay, now for your question 5. Okay, A, state and briefly explain 2 factors of economies of scale. Okay, 2 factors of economies of scale, it's basically this part. Okay, it's basically this part. You just have to write it down. Okay, have a look. Yes. So the first factor is greater specialization. The other is mass production techniques. Okay, mass production techniques. All right. So this one is easy. You just take it from the slides. Okay. The next one is describe the relationship between the marginal physical product of a variable input and the marginal cost. Okay, this one is a bit trickier. Okay, but you can still get it from the slides. Just give me a minute. Okay, we need to find exhibit 4. Okay, on the slides it's okay. It has no number, but it is between 15 and 13. Okay, so it should be this slide. You basically just have to cover this explanation on the right-hand side. Okay, you just have to cover this, and that will be enough. In other words, you need to say, okay, when MPP is rising, marginal cost is going down. And when MPP is going down, marginal cost is going up. So MPP and MC move in opposite directions, okay? And the MC curve is a reflection of the MPP curve. Okay? So I think it's somewhat given in the slides. Yeah. Okay, I think this is, let me see, does it say much more? Exhibit 5. Exhibit 5? Oh, no. Okay, so this slide roughly covers most of it. Okay, and then you talk about the productivity. Okay, as marginal physical product goes up, productivity goes up. Therefore, costs will go down. Okay, you're just more efficient at producing something. Therefore, you don't need as much of the resource to produce your output. Okay, and therefore your cost goes down. Whereas if the productivity goes down, then the cost goes up. Okay, because you need more of that resource to produce your output. Okay, so that is your 5B. Any questions so far? In this case, I don't think so. If you want to, you can, but it doesn't really matter in this case. Yeah, I don't think you need to. Yeah, I think that should be good enough. Yes, because although we draw, the marginal cost like this, the marginal physical product like this, right? They could be anything. It's just that they must be reflections of one another. Okay, so it could be something like this, and then the other must be this, or like this, or like this. It doesn't matter as long as they are reflections. Okay, this is just standard shapes, you could say. This is the common shape, but it does not actually have to look like this. Okay, there's no rule saying it must look like this. You can come up with some crazy things. For example, like this. And then if this is your marginal cost, then your marginal physical product must just be the opposite. Okay, it could be anything. So yeah. So in this case, it doesn't really mention you need diagram because it's not really diagram. Okay, it's not like demand and supply. You must have the diagram, or the economies of scale, diseconomies of scale. Those, it is very obvious we need the diagram, right? Because it shows very clearly when do you have economies of scale and when do you have diseconomies of scale. But in this case, I don't think it's really needed. Okay. Yeah. Okay, right. Okay, as promised, I want to show you question 4. Okay, I will show you the calculations, but I don't think we need to talk through it because we have done it before. Okay, so this is just for you to check your answers. Okay, just give me a minute. Window. Okay, right. People want to take a photo, they can. People want to screenshot, they can. Okay, you can just check your answers, okay, and let me know if you have any questions. Okay, Esther, just a minute, yeah? Okay, just a minute. Oh, I've answered that. Right, Esther, I have answered that. Okay, right. Sorry, I didn't see your message just now. Okay, in the meantime, people online, people here, any questions before we finish? Everything okay so far? Okay, for the exams, the midterm stuff, I will remind you a bit closer, okay? But I have invited all of you to the Google Calendar event, okay? You should have received it by now. Is there a question 6? Oh, so this was question 6. Okay, I don't know why I have a different set of tutorial questions. Okay, right. Okay, then let's talk about question 6. Okay, question 6. Okay, first I'll just show you the answer first for you to check. Okay, because this is again marginal product and average product. Okay, so the only thing I would say is average product, you take total product, you minus your units of labor. Okay, so for example, when you have 8 units of labor, total product is 240. Okay, you just take 240 divided by 8, you get 30 for your average product. Marginal product, we've done it like quite a few times now. Okay, so I don't think we have to go through it again. Okay, now, because I don't have the questions, I can just guess. Okay. Was that a classmate? Yeah. Okay, never mind. Okay. Okay. Can I just check what's the question for part 3 or question 6? Is it explain when does diminishing marginal return starts to set in? Okay, right. In this case, I think it's a 6-mark question. It's quite a lot. Okay, so what you need to say, okay, first of all, you tell me, okay, the first 2 marks, yeah? You tell me at which unit of labor do you have diminishing marginal returns, okay? So if you look at your answer, if you look at your, what do you call it, your calculations just now, your marginal product starts to drop at the 4th unit, okay? It was highest at the 3rd unit, but it's going to drop at the 4th unit, okay? Just let me share that again. Okay, so class, you see, yeah, it is highest at the third unit, that means it drops starting from the fourth unit, okay? So first thing you tell me, it starts to operate at 4 units of labor, okay? 2 marks. And then you tell me, what does this mean? The rate of increase of total product slows down, okay? The rate of increase of total product slows down, okay? Because that's what it means by diminishing marginal returns. You start to add to total output slower and slower, okay? Let me type that in the chat. Our class ends at 11, right? Okay, so you need to mention that the rate of total product, rate of increase of total product starts to slow down, okay? And then you talk about the change in numbers, okay? Decreases from 65 to 35, and therefore the law of diminishing returns is at the 4th unit, okay? So basically, we know how to answer this question. It's just that we need to figure out how to write it in a format that works for the exam. Okay? So that's up there. Because I don't think we actually, have a neat way of writing it in the lecture slide. So you can take this down. Okay? The next time you see a question that asks about, like at which level of, labor or whatever do you have diminishing marginal returns? That is how you structure your answer. Okay? Right. Okay, I don't think I have any more surprise questions. Yeah, I think that's the last one. Okay, people online, any questions? Everything okay so far? Okay, I'll just stop the recording first. Okay, any questions from people here? Okay, yeah. All right. Okay, so yeah, apologies. Things were a bit longer today, and yeah, my questions are not the same as the answers. That's why things are a bit messy. Okay, but I will fix this for next week. Okay, so yeah, if there are no further questions, okay, I shall see you in the lecture. Okay, and if you have any questions about the midterm, you can always just ask me. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, that's all for today. I will see you in the lecture. Have a good week. You're welcome.
Thank you, sir.